No, John. This week's first segment is a little segment I like to call Serial Killer Corner.
Oh, this one's always hilarious.
Oh, this one, John loves this segment because John gets a lot of excitement from the details that come from this segment. And of course, this segment is where we talk about a serial killer that is, what is the right word to use that wouldn't be inappropriate? That is known in history.
Okay, I don't know that many.
Something really benign. You don't know that many?
Not really. I probably should have finished like season 2 of Mindhunter, and I probably.
Well, that would have been enough for the research for this.
Probably.
Yeah,
That's where I get all of my facts.
David Fincher. David Fincher movies or series.
Just Netflix shows in general.
Well, John, hopefully you've heard about this week's serial killer that we're going to talk about. John, have you ever heard of a man named Edward Theodore Gein, or better known as Ed Gein? The butcher of Plainfield, the Plainfield Ghoul. You ever heard of him?
It's the guy they did the Texas Chainsaw. He was inspired, right? They inspired. Am I wrong?
He has inspired a lot of.
I said, am I wrong? You said yes.
Yeah, no, he has.
So when I'm saying wrong, the answer is no. Pay attention on your podcast.
This is awkward, John. Our first on-air fight where John got annoyed.
You can just go fuck yourself.
I just joking. No, yes. No, yeah. He inspired a lot of movies and TV shows and media, and he's not as well known as other serial killers. And I'm thinking maybe because a lot of his killings were early on in the 20th century.
One of my favorite though.
He's one of your favorites.
I don't know. I don't know.
That is a weird. You heard? I've heard people say that phrase.
I've heard. I've met a few girls that I've talked to. That are like tell me like they ask me who my favorite serial killer
That's
is.
Such a weird phrase, right?
I'm like, okay, I've known you for an hour.
But he's one of he's one of John's favorites.
No, I don't know much about him.
You know, Ed Gein was known for a lot of things. And he inspired a lot of weird stories.
I heard he made really good birthday cakes.
Really good birthday cakes.
That was one of the things he was known for.
Is that what it was?
It got overshadowed.
Is that what it was?
I think so. Like he made really good birthday cakes. Like what's that show? Cake Wars.
He inspired Cake Wars.
I think that was. The inspiration behind.
I think you're right. I think he inspired Cake Wars.
But he did some other stuff. It just kind of overshadowed his cake work. Yeah.
So John, do you know what what type of cakes he made before he killed a couple of his victims?
No, I've seen.
I've heard he was known for his tres leches cake.
Tres leches.
Yes.
The 3 milk cake.
Yes, he was known. He was known for.
I think he just drank 3 glasses of milk
before he killed the victims,
or after.
I
don't know what's weirder, before or after.
I would think after.
It's like you're celebrating with milk.
With milk, and it's heavy, and then we all know like the majority of people.
It's probably
are lactose
it's probably
intolerant.
Warm.
Yeah.
Probably likes it warm. Probably.
Yeah, it's warm, unlike his victim's body.
But he doesn't microwave it. He just lets it sit like it's like room temp.
That's the worst. Right? Room temperature milk.
Ooh, I don't even drink milk.
Yeah.
I used to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Ugh. Well, John, one of the crimes he did, I don't know if he drank his milk before or after he did this crime, but you want to hear about one of his crimes?
Yeah.
No? So we just give over completely.
Sure. Tell me.
All right, John. So on the morning of November 16th, 1957, a hardware store owner, Bernice Warden, disappeared.
She's fine.
You think that's where the story's going? Right? She was found like 2 days later. She just got lost.
Probably What year?
1957. Actually, that's the year my mom was born.
Really?
1957. I'm aging my mom. She'd be really mad if she actually listened to this podcast. But we know she doesn't because she doesn't support anything her son does. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. No, I doubt she listens to it.
Turn into a big therapy.
Right, yeah. Session. No, I doubt she listens to it, but that's not because she doesn't support me.
Yeah.
1957, yeah.
I don't think my mom's ever listened to it either.
No, I don't think either of parents. Yeah.
And I'm friends with my mom on Facebook, and I think she's just like, whatever.
Another weird thing you're doing right there.
Yeah, she's just like,
Yeah.
and I'm one of those people where like I just share it with everyone. Now certain people are like,
Uh-huh.
they're kind of more specific, like, oh, this is for my friends, not for my family.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't give a fuck.
You want everybody to listen to
I'm
your
about
thoughts.
to offend everyone with this post.
Well, luckily you don't talk about anything that would disturb your family members on this podcast, John.
They know that I'm crazy.
Yeah, crazy like Ed Gein. So,
No. I drink my milk cold.
so let's get back to Bernice, John. She's been missing.
She's fine.
So a Plainfield resident where Bernice was from, they reported the hardware store's truck had been driven out near the rear of the building at around 9:30 a.m. that day. So the hardware store was closed the entire day of November 16th, John. Some area residents believe that this was because of deer hunting season. So I guess that was big back up in Wisconsin in 1950. So they would just close shop. So Bernice's son, who was Deputy Sheriff Frank Warden, he entered the store around 5 p.m. that day, and he found the store's cash register open and blood stains on the floor, John. So do you still think Bernice is just doing okay?
Now I think she's stealing money.
You think she's stealing money?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, he just found the cash register open. It didn't say if money was missing.
I don't know.
You think it was like one of those Gone Girl situations where she faked her?
I would have called in and been like, I think we have a robbery.
Like Bernice did a Gone Girl, faked her kidnapping, and
Not a robbery. I'd just been like, I think someone's stealing. And like, there's I don't know. There's a bunch of blood in the way. I can't get to the money. It's all over the floor.
So Bernice,
I need to get that register.
Yeah.
See what's in there.
So Bernice's son, John Frank, he told investigators that Ed Gein had been in the store the evening before his mother's disappearance, and that he would return the next morning for a gallon of antifreeze. No. Gallon of antifreeze. It's a hardware store. So a sales slip for a gallon of antifreeze was the last receipt written by Bernice on the morning she disappeared. So on the evening of the same day, Gein was arrested at a West Plainfield grocery store, and Washara, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, County Sheriff's Department, they searched the Gein farm. Do you want to guess what they found?
Milk.
A deputy for the Washara County Sheriff's Office discovered Warden's decapitated body in a shed on Gein's property. Poor Bernice. She didn't go out.
Was she okay?
No, she was decapitated. Yeah.
Oh.
Decapitated body. Hung upside down by her legs with a crossbar at her ankles and ropes at her wrists. The torso was dressed out like a deer. Have you ever seen a deer dressed out?
Yeah, it looks weird.
Yeah. She had been shot with a .22 caliber rifle, and the mutilations were made after her death. So, John, the authorities searched this house. Do you even want to guess what they found?
Well, I still want to know what she's stealing from the store.
I don't think they ever figured out the case of the missing $22.80.
Yeah, back then that was like $1 million.
It was like $1 million. No, John. So they searched Gein's house, and guess what they found? This is some of the things they found.
Go for it.
Whole human bones, and fragments. A wastebasket made of human skin.
Well, we've all been there, right?
Yeah. Human skin covering several chair seats. Skulls on bedpost. This guy seems like he's like a heavy metal, right? Skulls on bedpost.
I think I know this guy.
Female skulls, some with the top sawn off. Bows made from human skulls. So imagine eating your Kellogg's Frosted Flakes from a human bowl. Oh, you don't eat cereal, right?
With room temperature milk.
Ugh.
I don't eat cereal.
You don't eat cereal, so you don't have to worry about that.
I used to eat Cookie Crisp as a kid.
You used to? That was your favorite?
Just eat it just without milk, just like cookies. I think they changed it.
Did they?
I think they realized, hey, we can't be giving kids cookies for breakfast. I don't know.
It sounds like there's gonna be who made that joke, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember the science.
It sounds too easy.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like
It is. Yeah, it is cookies for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody has that joke.
Yeah. A corset made from a female torso, skinned from shoulders to waist. Leggings made from human-like skin. So he was doing Spanx with human skin, John.
Is that what you're gonna call it, Spanx? You think if he was still alive, he could sue?
Well, these were just leggings. I don't know if he had gotten into the hey, this will make you look slimmer.
Did you find all these weird patents? It's my intellectual property.
Masks made from the skin of female heads. Mary Hogan's face mask in a paper bag. Mary Hogan's skull in a box. I'll get
when
to
you say
Mary.
face mask, you don't mean like the kind you buy like at a Party
No,
City or
her-
a costume store.
A woman named Mary Hogan, her actual face. And her skull in a box. Bernice's entire head in a burlap sack. Bernice's heart in a plastic bag in front of Gein's potbelly stove. Do you know what a potbelly stove is?
Potbelly? No.
It was like this old-fashioned stove that had like curved legs, and it looked like a little potbelly. You would say a potbelly pig, right? Like it's round, nice round, and then it had this little individual chimney for it. And you would open up the belly of it, and you put wood in there, and you would burn it, and you close it, and then the smoke would go up the shaft, and you're able to cook.
Is that like Hansel and Gretel times?
Yeah.
Okay, I pulled up a picture. I got it.
Yeah. 9 vulvas in a shoebox.
Okay.
Yeah. A young girl's dress and the vulvas of 2 females judged to have been about 15 years old. A belt made from female.
You ever driven a Volvo that's 15 years old?
I've never driven a Volvo.
Really?
I've never owned a Volvo.
Me neither.
I've never been in a Volvo.
I bought one and I sold it really fast.
Aren't they supposed to be super safe?
I don't know.
Unlike
maybe
Ed
like
Gein?
today. Yeah, unlike Ed Gein.
Yes.
Yeah.
A belt.
You know what's funny though?
Huh?
When you said Volvo, I promise you, I thought Volvo for a second ago. Why do you have all those cars? I'm not joking.
Yeah.
Like, and then it took me a second.
Especially in a shoebox.
Yeah, and I was like, but that doesn't make sense. Cars are bigger than that. I'm
You
not.
start-
It's funny. It's like I'm not. No, like I'm not even trying to make a joke.
You
Like
started
that's
thinking he was a wizard.
that's what my brain started thinking. I'm like, is this guy? Yeah, like is he just? Can he just like do magic? I'm just like, all right. Like, this story's getting weird. I'm starting to doubt the facts.
You think I'm lying? It's like you're making shit up. A belt made from female human nipples.
Okay.
4 noses. A pair of lips on a window shade drawstring. So he took for a window shade drawstring, and instead of sometimes they have like a little weight on there so you can pull it.
Mm-hmm.
Get up. Pair of lips.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
This guy was like
he might have been ahead of his time.
a little weird interior designer, right?
He just couldn't find his calling.
He also had a lampshade made from the skin of a human face.
Gross.
And fingernails from female fingers. A lot of female victims, John.
And we all cut like fingernails, right?
Yeah, but I don't think these fingernails were collected.
You know those parents that collect like weird shit, like
Their kids like
Their-
hair clippings and
yeah.
they're like their tooths from when the quote unquote tooth fairy takes
I think what's that?
By the way, kids, tooth fairy doesn't exist.
Oh, I think Al Madrigal has that joke. Remember?
What?
He's like he's been keeping his kid's teeth like for years.
Uh-huh.
Like they found him. And he's like, what the fuck? Like or something like it's just like,
Yeah.
like you're a serial killer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember the joke.
Oh,
but
I think I remember.
it's something funny like that. Like you have a bag of teeth.
Yeah,
like,
you're a serial killer.
Something like that. Like it's just like, why do you have a bag of teeth in a drawer? Like this kid's already grown.
They're not mine. Wait.
yeah, that's the best thing to say.
Yeah.
Don't worry, they're not mine.
They're yours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, John, all these artifacts, they were photographed at the state crime laboratory and then destroyed. So, when they questioned Gein, right?
Mm-hmm.
They questioned him, and Gein told investigators that between 1947 and 1952, he made as many as 40 nocturnal visits to 3 local graveyards to exhume recently buried bodies while he was in a dazed-like state. He said on about 30 of those visits, he said he came out of the daze while in the cemetery, left the grave in good order. So he wasn't a messy guest.
Right.
And returned home empty-handed. So he said on the other occasions, he dug up the graves of recently buried middle-aged women he thought resembled his mother and took the bodies home where he tanned their skins to make his paraphernalia. Paraphernalia.
Is that a different word?
Not the same thing.
Okay.
It's pronounced a little different.
You know why people get in trouble? I told you, right?
Get in trouble with what?
Because I guess, like, you can get in trouble if you have, like, drug paraphernalia.
Mm-hmm.
I've told you this before. It's like, you can't just have, like, you can't just have, like, one paraphernalia. Like, if you have a pair of them, you're in a lot more trouble.
Yes.
Yeah.
A pair.
If you got a
But if you have one fernalia, you're good.
you might get off with a warning.
But if you have a pair of fernalia.
Exactly.
Ah.
Yeah. Don't carry 2 fernalias on you.
No, it's just one fernalia. One fernalia is fine. So Gein admitted to stealing from 9 graves from local cemetery, John,
Mm-hmm.
and he led investigators to their locations. Alan Wilimowski, he was state crime laboratory. He was part of the state laboratory. I'm sorry. He participated in opening 3 test graves identified by Gein. The casks were inside wooden boxes. The top boards ran crossways, not lengthwise. The tops of the boxes were about 2 feet below the surface in sandy soil. So Gein had robbed the graves soon after the funerals while the graves were not completed. The test graves were exhumed because authorities were uncertain as to whether the slight Gein was capable of single-handedly digging up a grave during a single evening. They were found as Gein described. 2 of the exhumed graves were found empty. One had a crowbar in place of the body, and one casket was empty. One casket Gein had failed to open when he lost his pry bar, and most of the body was gone from the 3rd grave. But Gein had returned rings and some body parts, thus apparently corroborating his confession.
So he didn't lie about anything.
Apparently not. So, apparently soon after his mother's death...
You think that's enough, like, oh, he's telling the truth, they'll let him go?
Yes. That's the happy ending.
Back then, maybe.
Yeah. Soon after his mother's death, apparently, Gein began to create a woman suit, quote-unquote, so that he could, quote, become his mother, to literally crawl into her skin.
Do you feel like you have become your mother over the years?
In some ways. Have you ever felt like you've picked up some of your parents' characteristics?
More my father, but maybe.
You're like, all the shit that they would give you when you were little, you start, like, even if you don't have kids, like, you start, like, you're thinking the same way. You're like...
I think more my father than my mother, but yeah.
Yeah. It's weird, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I made a mask. Just joking. I love my mom.
Yes. And
That's
so did
why-
Ed Gein, John.
But she doesn't love me, so she doesn't listen to this podcast.
Just you know what? Tell her tomorrow that she needs to listen to this week's podcast, specifically this one. So Gein denied having sex with the bodies, John, that he exhumed.
That's the part he was ashamed of.
Yes, he's like, I just want to make things clear. I did not have sex with them, and he explained, John, that the reason he didn't have sex with them is that they smelled too bad. So if these corpses had been a little bit better smelling, maybe he would have thought about putting his penis inside their body cavities.
Yeah, he's definitely. I guess he has standards.
Yes,
The man with standards.
He just wants to make the story completely clear in case it gets out. He didn't have sex with these bodies.
Nice.
So during the interrogation with Gein also admitted to the shooting death of Mary Hogan. This is the skull and the face mask that we mentioned earlier. A tavern owner missing since 1954, whose head was found in his house, but he later denied memory of details of her death.
All right. But I'm saying like he admitted it. He just said I don't remember how or what.
Well, he said he didn't have memory of it. Yeah,
Oh,
yes. You know, I mean, he admitted to the shooting death, but he said he didn't really have memory of her death, like the details.
He shot?
Yes, he shot.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that how he is? Well, okay, so he dug up bodies and then he did kill people.
He killed 2 women.
How did he kill the cashier again?
Seemed like he. What did he do? I forgot. Sorry. Oh, he shot her too.
So I'm saying it was either like a gun or hey, they're already dead.
Yeah, or he just stole body parts.
All right.
So apparently, a 16-year-old youth, John, whose parents were friends with Gein, and who attended ball games and movies with him. He must have been a fun chaperone, right? He reported.
He was a big Cubs fan.
Yes. This youth reported that Gein. Well, they're in Wisconsin, so what team do you think he'd be rooting for? Back in the 1950s?
Probably still a big Cubs fan.
I think big Cubs fan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he started doing it. He was just a really frustrated Cubs fan.
Dude, you'd be surprised how crazy people get after the Cubs until recently.
Yes. So a 16-year-old youth, he said that he reported that Gein kept shrunken heads in his house, which Gein had described as relics from the Philippines, sent by a cousin who has served on the islands during World War II. So upon investigation by the police, these were determined to be human facial skins, carefully peeled from corpses and used by Gein as masks. Gein was also considered a suspect in several other unsolved cases in Wisconsin, including the 1953 disappearance.
How many costume contests do you think he could have won?
Gein? Well, he could have just
nailed it.
Oh man, he had so many options. It would have been like the Madonna of Halloween costumes. Just eat a new costume every night.
Nailed it. It would have pissed off Heidi Klum.
Oh, yeah.
Nailed it, Ed.
There's no way. Yeah.
Ed, you fucking did it again, Ed.
Did you see Heidi Klum's costume this year? I sent it to you.
You sent it to me. I don't get it.
It was really like lazy. Yeah.
I didn't get it.
Yeah.
She's still hot.
Yeah. So he was also a suspect, John, in the 1953 disappearance of Evelyn Hartley, a babysitter.
Mm-hmm.
During questioning, the Washoe County Sheriff, Art Shelley, reportedly assaulted Gein by banging his head and face into a brick wall. As a result, Gein's initial confession was ruled inadmissible.
Okay, who did he do this to?
To Gein himself, the sheriff.
Oh, okay.
So
that sheriff was a jerk, man.
Yeah. So that sheriff.
I don't know if Gein deserved all that.
So, but you know what, John? That sheriff died of heart failure at age 43 in 1968 before Gein's trial. Many who knew Shelley said he was traumatized by the horror of Gein's crimes, and this, along with the fear of having to testify, especially about assaulting Gein, caused his death. One of his friends said he was a victim of Ed Gein as surely as if he had butchered him.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how he died.
Yes.
The
sheriff.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So, John, the trial of Ed Gein. So, on November 21st, 1957, Gein was arraigned on one count of first-degree murder, where he pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia and found mentally incompetent. So, he was thus unfit for trial. So, he was sent to the Central State Hospital for the Criminally Insane.
Okay,
So now it's now known as the Dodge Correctional Institution.
Do you want to know where you confuse me, but I'm also not that smart sometimes.
What?
That's how he died. I'm talking about Ed.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was the sheriff.
And then I'm like, he's back? Like, seriously?
No. No, Gein died many decades later, John.
Yeah, I don't know how he died.
Yeah. We'll get to that later in a bit. So he was
he drowned in a pool of milk.
So, John, in 1968, doctors determined Gein was mentally able to confer with counsel and participate in his defense. This was 11 years later. The trial began on November 7th, 1968, and lasted 1 week. A psychiatrist testified that Gein had told him that he did not know whether the killing of Bernice Warden, which was the hardware store owner, was intentional or accidental. Gein had told him that while he examined a gun in Warden's store, the gun went off, killing her. Gein testified that after trying to load a bullet into the rifle, it discharged. He said he had not aimed the rifle at Warden and did not remember anything else that happened that morning.
At that point, again, my memory sucks, is that he hadn't done anything yet? That was his number one?
No, remember there was still that the other lady, like a few years before then.
Okay.
Yeah,
Alright.
the babysitter.
It's all good. All right.
So, at the request of the defense, Gein's trial was held without a jury, with Judge Robert Gomer presiding. So Gein was found guilty by Gomer on November 14th of 1968. A second trial dealt with Gein's sanity. Excuse me. After testimony by doctors for the prosecution and defense, the judge ruled Gein not guilty by reason of insanity and ordered him committed to Central State Hospital for the criminally insane. Gein spent the rest of his life in a mental hospital. So first they
sent him to Arkham.
So they said he was guilty of those crimes, and then they wanted to determine whether he was going to go to prison or to the hospital. So they deemed him criminally. They deemed him insane essentially. So
All right.
So the judge wrote, due to prohibitive costs, Gein was tried for only one murder, that of Mrs. Warden. He also admitted to killing Mary Hogan.
That was the cashier.
That Mary Hogan was the babysitter.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah. But he was only charged with the death of the hardware store owner.
That was
the one stealing money.
The one that was stealing cash. Yeah.
By the way,
that's a cold case right there.
Reopen
that.
The case of the missing $22.08.
Yeah. I think it was more like $24.
Okay. You're running it up.
I think I remember hearing it was about
$24.
Yeah.
So that's why you've heard of nothing else of this case except that.
Yeah. I was more intrigued. I was like, this lady was stealing.
If anything, if anybody takes anything from today's podcast, is that money's still missing, John.
She was a thief.
Still unsolved.
She was a thief. That's all you gotta take from it.
Unsolved.
Do you think she still has family that would be offended?
You know, if she did, I thought I'd be listening to this podcast.
Don't worry, in a few years, they'll come after us.
Okay, so John, so you're asking about his death. So Gein actually did die. He wasn't immortal. He did die at the Mendota Mental Health Institute. I'm sorry, due to respiratory failure secondary to lung cancer on July 26, 1984. He was 77 years old. So over the years, souvenir seekers chipped pieces from his gravestone at the Plainfield Cemetery until the stone itself was stolen in 2000. It was recovered in June 2011 near Seattle and was placed in a storage at the Washara County Sheriff's Department. The gravesite itself is not unmarked, but not unknown. Gein is interred between his parents and brother in the cemetery.
Oh, that's nice.
He's with his family, John. That's very nice, right?
Making mom proud.
He is. What do you mean making mom proud?
I'm sure he made his mom proud, right?
You think so?
I don't know. Probably not.
Like I mean, what can she put up on the fridge to like good job, little Eddie.
Great cakes.
Yeah. Oh, I forget he's known for his cakes.
He made the best cakes.
Yeah. So John, as we were talking about earlier, when I mentioned his name, you mentioned a few movies that were inspired by him, and you mentioned one named Psycho.
I didn't mention it, but I know it now.
Oh, okay. I thought you mentioned Psycho.
I mentioned Texas Chainsaw
Oh, I'm
Massacre.
sorry. I feel like an
You
idiot
should
now.
pay attention to this podcast sometimes.
Our second fight on this podcast.
God damn
It's
it.
goddamn awkward. No, Psycho was another one, John.
That's why I'm quitting.
Psycho.
Next week,
quitting
it's going to
next
be
week?
somebody else.
You're putting your 2 weeks in now?
No, next week.
You're just quitting next week.
I'm actually quitting right now, but I'm going to be nice and finish this one.
Yeah. So I guess this will be your last podcast. Everybody, next week you're gonna meet my new co-host Hector, who's been waiting in the wings, John. By the way, in case this were to happen, Hector's
earned it. Hector's earned it.
No, John. So Psycho
Is
was,
Hector getting paid?
or you find out he has like a actual good like yearly wage.
He's gonna show me his paycheck. What?
He's like, I got a cut of the profits as well.
Yeah.
Profit sharing with Hector.
Yeah.
Hector was a better negotiator. That's why.
Shit.
No, there's no Hector, John. Don't worry.
Uh-huh.
Hector's long gone.
Ed Gein's got him.
Ed Gein's
got him.
No, John. So
I wouldn't trust Hector. He drinks milk. Room temperature milk.
is that what Hector does?
Yeah.
No, actually, one of the movies that was inspired by Ed Gein was a movie by Alfred Hitchcock named Psycho.
Never heard of it.
You've never heard of Psycho?
Yes, I have.
Okay, John. So the Psychos follows a man named Norman Bates. He's a caretaker at an isolated motel who struggles under his domineering mother. Right?
Okay. Right now, if you were to meet somebody like, what are you doing? You're like, I'm a caretaker. Wouldn't you just walk away right away?
Yes. Like who? Yeah. Caretaker seems to be
You'd be
like,
but wait, I have milk. That's how he tries to get you back.
But what do you think that's scary to people when you hear those?
It's an old fashioned. It's like
it is, right?
It's like something in old horror movies and just weird. Yeah, I don't know. It just sounds weird. What the fuck are you talking about? What do you do?
So apparently the way it was inspired, John. Did you know that the movie Psycho was actually an adaptation of a novel named Psycho?
Now I do.
So in 1959, American writer Robert Bloch wrote a novel named Psycho, and he was partially inspired by Ed Gein. While he didn't know completely all the of the specifics of the Gein case, he said he began writing with the notion that the man next door may be a monster unsuspected even in the gossip-ridden microcosm of small-town life.
Cool.
So this novel was published 2 years after Gein's crimes came into the public sphere, and there's a lot of always allusions, the whole mother thing in Psycho, and the fact that Ed Gein was looking to make a woman's quote-unquote woman's suit after his mother died.
Didn't you say he was looking for faces that look like his mom? Or?
I don't know about that, but he's trying to make a woman's suit though.
I thought you said he was looking digging up graves, trying to find somebody that looked like his mom. Or...
No, I think that's something that you projected onto that.
I don't know. I might have to listen to this back later, or at least that part. I wouldn't want to hear this shit.
I have to every week when I edit it.
Okay.
What
are you cutting out?
Huh?
What are you cutting out?
I'm not cutting out anything. I just had to go back and edit it. If I have to add stuff to it, and I have to re-listen to it.
All right.
I have to listen to you twice a week on this. Yeah.
Lucky.
Yeah. The
luckiest guy ever.
The abuse I put myself through every day. Every week. No, so yeah, so that was part of that. And then another movie that you mentioned, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, was partially inspired by Ed Gein. Obviously, have you ever seen the movie?
Ryan Reynolds.
The Ryan Reynolds version. Was Ryan Reynolds in Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
I think he did the remake.
He did a remake of the Amityville Horror.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Yeah, wrong remake.
Oh, it was the one with Jessica Biel. That was the
yes.
That was the remake of the.
You must feel like an idiot.
Yeah. That's the thing that's gonna make me sound dumb.
No, so yeah, they took some of the obviously some of the elements of the Ed Gein case. One of them being he's in human skin as a mask, as that's the main character in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
We've all been there, right?
Yes. Um, and also Silence of the Lambs, John. Silence of the Lambs.
I didn't know that was one of them. I'm saying that was inspired by him.
Who? What? Which one? Silence of the Lambs?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you look at the whole side story of Buffalo Bill trying to build his woman suit.
You're right. You're right. Buffalo Bill.
Actually, Buffalo Bill was inspired by a few serial killers. One of them being Ed Gein, and another one being Bundy, Ted Bundy. Because I don't know if you know a lot about the Ted Bundy case. You know that one scene where Buffalo Bill's.
Wait, that's not the same as Al Bundy.
No, they're cousins.
Okay.
No, that one scene in Silence of the Lambs.
Okay.
Where Buffalo
Very
Bill.
obscure reference, guys.
Yeah, 4 touchdowns in a single game. Where Buffalo Bill's character in Silence of the Lambs, he's wearing a cast. A cast. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Excuse me. A cast on his arm, and he asked for help. Like that's actually one of the ways that Ted Bundy actually captured one of the girls that he killed.
I did not know any of that.
Yeah. So, but Ed Gein was another inspiration.
I learned something old every day.
Did you really? Is it really old if you learned it? Just learned it?
Nah, it's just funny. It's just funnier to say that.
It's new to you, John.
The fucking 90s reruns. Do you remember they used to say that?
Yeah.
They would just show reruns.
Uh-huh.
For those of you who don't know, there used to be something called reruns. And they would do that shit. They would just show like a show, like they would air a shitty shit. It's something that they would get shows.
Yeah.
But they would, during the summer, they're all reruns, right? And they're like, oh, if you haven't seen it, it's new to you.
Yeah.
And that's how they would market it.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you're right.
It is.
I'm going to watch this new episode.
Because you've never seen it before.
Of Married with Children.
Because you've never seen it before.
Right.
With Al Bundy, cousin of Ted Bundy. Hawkeye. Hawkeye 76.
You guys who don't know, Al Bundy was an amazing athlete. Check him out.
Yes. One of the greatest American athletes to ever live.
Yeah. Heisman? No. He didn't get that far. I think he did. Oh, man.
So that was Ed Gein, John.